To the alternate future of the world. You thought we were finished? Well, at the end of the last episode, we did World War III, and we did the peace treaty, and everybody was happy. Argentina and Peru were basically divided up. The EU basically was reformed and rebanded. NATO was rebanded. So there's now a European front. Russia's alliance is stronger than ever, and most of the enemy states are severely weakened and severely defeated. So basically, the Italians were defeated as well here, and all of the bad guys were defeated. So Italy, Turkey, some of the Islamic African states were defeated here. Myanmar, and of course, Peru and Argentina, alongside several African states which were split up, mostly because of this here. So yeah, Sierra Leone here. But now we live in a new world. The world is dominated by not really any superpowers. No governing organization. It's not like the end of World War II, but basically, we have this new polarized world. We have five total teams, and we'll be very excited to see where this takes us. So let's begin. The very beginning, the UN releases this territory of Argentina, as they don't want to occupy these countries anymore. They create the Argentine Federal Republic and the Peruvian Federal Republic. The USA also relinquishes claims, but creates its own country. Basically, this part of Peru, the US occupied areas of Peru and Argentina, will now become a part of the American alliance. This will be a democratic US royal country as well. Colombia and Brazil also and the EU release their areas. However, China refuses to release their areas, creating their own countries here. The South American nations relinquish their occupation of these countries, and basically, for the first time, Argentina is one country, or at least one country again, a few years after the occupation is over. Most of the wars in this current era are just civil wars, like African civil wars, but most of the alliance, basically South America, Latin America, besides a few nations, are fully under one alliance, besides a few smaller nations. However, the Chinese occupied countries do not want to join. The Chinese government basically just sent their government here to basically make these countries a part of China's alliance. This makes the US pretty angry, as it was promised that Argentina and Peru would become one whole country again. But China denied this. This part of Argentina doesn't really have many people, but this part of Peru, I think this is where the capital of Peru is, Lima, or the former capital of Peru. So this will be the Kingdom of Peru, and this rest of the country will be the Republic of Peru as well, and this will be the Kingdom of Argentina, and this will be the Republic of Peru. Meanwhile, the Socialist Republic of Canada and all of its allied states want to continue to expand socialism across the world. They start by invading the Republic of Sierra Leone, which was designed as basically its own government. The socialists invade this in a civil war, or a current war, and the US and the EU send troops to help keep the democratic forces alive. Many refugees flee to neighboring countries as of every war. This is the first refugee crisis since the last World War where many people were displaced. Most people who were displaced during the war were returned back to their countries. For example, back to Italy or back to whatever country they fled. So back to, Greece, Turkey, and resettlement programs were made the number one priority of the new United Nations. However, this will have lasting impacts on the demographics of Africa and surrounding countries. As the socialists, however, push out the democratic forces. Yeah, yeah. The Socialist Republic of Sierra Leone is created. This country is a one-party state, and that's basically what's happening here. Yeah. However, these countries over here, which were forced to split up, here, these countries will be under watchful eyes of the European Union to basically make sure that radical Islam never rises again, as well. As it was the closest thing to ISIS or the Islamic State rising again. So basically, there's a watchful eye here in these countries up here as well. Meanwhile, one country wants to reunify its country. This is Sudan. Sudan does not like this area being a separate country. This is the for reason as well. Global warming has become a pretty big problem, with droughts and everything becoming a big problem. The four, however, has been thriving mostly due to support from the East African Federation. Sudan can't do this anymore. They want to take back the former land and occupy it once again, like the good old days. So Sudan, come on. Yeah, it's a really. Hopefully we fix this. Sudan, however, is going to be invading Darfur, but they weren't going to be expecting massive resistance. The big ally, the East African Federation, joins the battle. So here, this was a massive mistake for Sudan. Sudan's army will be pushed. Here, Sudan has around 100 million people as African populations have boomed in the 2070s, but are starting to slow down. But however, the East African Federation is one of the most populated nations in the world. They literally have DR Congo has 300 million, Tanzania has like another 250 million, Kenya has another 100 million. Yeah, this country literally has around 800 million people. This country is the third most populated country in the world, behind China and India, which still are the number one and number two countries in the world. Yeah, this invasion of Sudan continues to get worse and worse. This causes a massive refugee crisis very similar to the Sudanese refugee crisis, and people flee to Eritrea, Ethiopia, but the main one is towards Saudi Arabia and even Yemen and Iraq. Not many go to Europe. Only around a small portion of Sudanese people really flee to Europe. Here, the 80% of refugees literally go towards neighboring countries or even the East African Federation or Ethiopia or Saudi Arabia or Yemen. As the Middle Eastern countries' birth rates are not that high, they welcome African labor basically how they have always treated labor. Yeah, Saudi Arabia is still doing the old tricks with, immigrants. Basically, you get treated like complete garbage in Saudi Arabia. Many want to actually flee to the actually good countries like in Europe or Russia or even the American countries. But it's very hard to get to the American countries, so this is the path of least resistance for Sudan. The Sudanese government basically now erupts into yet another civil war. These people had enough of the imperialization of Sudan and want a separate country. These northern people in Sudan do not want an imperial government. They want to become their own state. They actually joined the side of the East African Federation. Sudan is basically just mostly cornered at this point and surrenders here as well. They do not really annex any of Sudan, and basically, Darfur is now a protected state under the East African Federation. The new Sudanese government is formed. The anti-imperial government is formed. However, a puppet state was formed here. This is North Sudan and South Sudan. Yeah, because South Sudan, this Sudan, which is just called Sudan, because it's just a state of, which is basically kind of like how New Mexico and Old Mexico. This is just Sudan, the state of the East African Federation. That's what the country is. However, there is a new crisis down here. A drought is becoming very problematic for this southern portion of Africa. South Africa, we actually haven't touched Southern Africa at all. Yeah, we have not touched Southern Africa the whole series. This, however, is the worst war, besides the Sudanese War, since the World War. South Africa erupts into a civil war. I'm actually surprised we haven't touched South Africa yet, but basically, they split into several states, factions. So we have the basically the original South African government up here. We have a Zululand independence movement. We have a white South African independence movement down here, or basically the Cape Independence Movement. And we also have socialists up here. And we have the neo-fascists. Basically, kind of like how the far right. Yeah. This is going to be a very bloody and awful civil war. The far right gains some land here. They also invade Lesotho, which creates another country being forced to involved here. Then Botswana supports the South African government here. Meanwhile, the far right annexes Lesotho here. The Zulu independent state holds on a line similar to the Cape Independence Movement, as they don't want to be a part of this as well. Okay, but basically, most of the Cape is white South Africans and colored people. That's basically, and there are a few black South Africans. Most of the black South Africans live here. Meanwhile, the Cape is mostly white and colored people. That's, basically what South Africa has turned into here. This country is basically like Brazil 2.0, and this is just South Africa. Here. The socialists, however, push into some of these lands up here, and they actually push pretty far into some of the lesser populated areas. But they push back, and this civil war becomes a stalemate as well. However, the socialists are gaining support from Canada. The South African government accuses Canada of aiding the socialists, alongside with Spain and Venezuela and these two African states up here. They're even sending troops, and this causes this causes the Socialist Alliance to get in war with South Africa. The Socialist Alliance starts to push further into South Africa here. The Socialist Alliance even pushes into the far right. The far right doesn't really have much funding outside of funding from Mozambique for some reason. Not Mozambique. Yeah, they have funding from Mozambique and Cameroon, and that's it. South Africa is funded by Russia and China because of BRICS. Also, Russia is not. Brazil is also funding this, and even Korea is funding this as well. The Zululand is only being funded by the UK and by England and the US as well. The England and US and Europe are basically just fighting to keep the two new states alive. However, the fascists with very little support are defeated. There will be no fascist South Africa. The Zulus just want their own little state here, and Rodolfo will be erased, as Rodolfo was just defeated relatively quickly. The Cape also occupies this little area right here. Here, this causes the war to turn to a forefront war. South Africa recognizes the Zulus as an independent country. Here, this causes the Zulus to basically join the side of South Africa. They'll basically be ignored now, as South Africa does recognize the independence of the Zulus. And basically, there's now a Zulu kingdom as well. They also restore Zofo, which was right here. Here, so Zofo is restored. Here, so Rodolfo is restored. And Rodolfo is no longer surrounded entirely by one country. They bordered the Zulu as well. Meanwhile, South Africa also recognizes the Cape, with the Cape now sides with South Africa as well. This is just Canada versus the rest of South Africa as well. Canadian forces, push, South Africa, to this little area right here and occupy this area here. Here, this turns into a stalemate as the socialists, do not really care all too much. They just want to win here. This causes a free government separate here. The Cape, which have been wanting to gain independence for like a century now, finally gained their independence. They don't have to worry about the South African government as well. And actually, the Cape is actually a very safe country compared to the rest of South Africa as well. Then we also have this part of South Africa, which is declared the Socialist Union of South Africa. This country is basically North Korea, but it's in Africa. Yeah, basically, remember Eritrea? Well, they exist still, but they're a puppet. They were re-released, I think, by Ethiopia. And Botswana and South Africa exist. Botswana will gain this little land here. South Africa and Botswana agree that this land will be separated, because basically, that land is basically worthless now. So that area, that little piece, a swimmer piece of land, which is mostly people from Botswana people, which is mostly could be annexed to Botswana. Basically, we have the Zulu state. We have the original South African government, which is still for some reason headed by the ANC. The far-right government of South Africa was defeated. We also have a socialist union, which is just a puppet state of Canada, and immediately joined Canada's alliance. This causes a second Cold War, in sorts, because Canada sees Africa as an massive opportunity to expand. They see this as a massive opportunity to say, you know what, we're going to expand. Okay, we're going to make Africa great again, or at least make Africa socialist again. Okay, that's the whole model. Okay, as well. Also, the EU makes a new treaty with the USA and Latin America to form a super alliance. This is called the Global Defense Pact. This pisses off China a lot, as basically this is the new mega alliance. This is the new NATO. So the US, Mexico, and many Latin American countries now are allies of Europe, because both alliances realize they have the same exact goals. This is going to piss off the Chinese and Canadians a lot as well, as they really have nothing to say to this. They really don't have anything to say to this. They can't really do anything. This also, I don't think, Bolivia is a part of this alliance as well. There are several Switzerlands in South America, like Paraguay, Uruguay, but these countries have already agreed to stay neutral. They do not want to be a part of any wars. They don't want to, be in any conflicts here. Basically we're trying to find what's the problem with Chile. Not the country, the border here. We're trying. Oh, there's like one small opening. This. Is there still any problems up here? Yes, there is. There was one here with Peru. Here. Yeah, I'm trying to fix this map here. Sorry. Colombia, I don't really see anything. Oh, there's one with Colombia and Peru. That's why Peru's being stated. Okay, do we fix South America? Also, there's one with the U.S. and Mexico. Yeah, the U.S.-Mexico border. Where is it? Oh, it's this little area right here. Is there any problem with these areas here? There we go. We fixed the whole problem. Basically, NATO is reformed. Now it's called the American and European Alliance as well. This pisses off China a lot, as basically they have all of Latin America, the United States, and parts of Europe against them as well. And to add insult to injury, they allow the South African, they allow the independent Cape State to also join this alliance as well. Yeah. They're also trying to basically form a kind of There's also a separate alliance, basically an EU-esque alliance with Latin America, basically mostly with the blue countries, as the socialist countries don't want to cooperate at all here. But Canada is really upset, but they want to get a big country on their side as well here. And they found the perfect target, Iran. Iran hasn't really been touched, besides them fighting against Turkey as well. Well, yeah. This will be the cliffhanger. And we also have to fix the borders. Yeah. 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 A socialist coup happens in Iran. Yeah. This is very similar to the Iranian Revolution, and this causes Russia to be fuming. Because now Iran is now the newest member of the Canadian Socialist Alliance. Yeah, this is what I mean by this is a second Cold War. Yeah. And that's it about this video here. Goodbye.